Loading in progress. Super duper. I'm gonna share screen. Let's go on here. Let me prezzo. Move me out of the way. Present. Full screen. All right, Gan. All right, welcome to this week's edition of Coach's Corner. All right, so today, the truth about fat loss and how to drop body fat without hating life. I think that's the crux, isn't it? I think when we go into a phase where we want to drop body fat, get in decent shape, we know we're out of shape. We know we're carrying too much body fat. You know, I want to term it that rather than losing weight. When we're carrying too much body fat, it's how do we go about it without hating the process? Diet culture is still negative in my view. People still think, oh, the slog of it, it's difficult. Yes, there's trade-offs. There has to be trade-offs. There has to be shifting behaviors. There has to be habit building. It doesn't have to be a miserable experience like it's painted out to be. And I think part of the issue with it is it's what gets made out in the media, what gets fed down to us from generation to generation. And hopefully this will give you some insight into some key areas around dieting, around fat loss that can kind of set you off on the right path and know where to start from and how, and hopefully give you some positive feelings about it. So I just want to start with a quote. Methods come and go, but principles remain forever. So this relates to the principles of fat loss. The principles of fat loss are always the same. The principles of fat loss is, for fat loss, you need to be in a calorie deficit. Okay, that's pure and simple. There's nothing else to it. If you're in a calorie deficit with your energy balance, you're going to start dropping body fat. Okay. Methods refer to seemingly hundreds of methods of getting there. All right. There isn't one size fits all. There isn't one method that's better than the other. People have built massive businesses and massive followings based on methods. Okay. And it makes people think, oh, this must be the way. That didn't work for me, but this is the one that will work for me. Just because something works for someone else, including yourself, doesn't mean it's going to work for everybody. Okay. You find the best method for you around the principle of a calorie deficit. Now, some examples of methods over the years, if I try and think back to when I was younger and you'd see them in the paper, things like the Atkins diet. More recently, you've got things like intermittent fasting, keto, no carb, low carb. We've had Netflix documentaries trying to get you to not eat protein, not eat meat. What else have we've got? We've got juices. Wow, big one. Shakes, juices, Herbalife, aloe vera juicing. I'm going back some here, but these are all things that people have brought along and have insisted that this is the way to do it. And a lot of those, they're absolutely terrible. A terrible way of existing, really, a miserable existence. And no wonder dieting and fat loss gets a bad name. All right, you need to find the method that suits you around the principle of fat loss. So the simple science, this just relates to what I've said before. So the simple science is this. See if I can minimize my head. I don't know if you can see that, but move me out of the way a little bit. So despite what you may have read or what people might try and tell you, it's physiologically impossible to gain body fat without being in a calorie surplus over time. If you're someone that's, in your view, is carrying too much body fat, this has been an accumulation of a calorie surplus over time. That's it. Okay. This is where you consume more calories than your body requires to function. Your body requires a certain amount of calories to function. You contribute to that as well by your movement, by any training that you do. But if you are carrying too much body fat, it's because you've consistently been in a surplus over a period of time. That's it. Now, the contributing factors to why that may have arisen are going to differ from person to person. But largely, it comes back to lack of knowledge, false information that I mentioned before. Most of the time, it's lifestyle choices. Okay. But also, which I will always acknowledge, there's people that have, very serious disordered eating, even a minor level of disordered eating. I think to kind of like people that I've worked with and stuff, there's underlying conditions. Some people have health conditions where they can't really move very much. Fat loss can be difficult, kind of with hormonal changes later in life. These are all contributory factors, but the science is always the same. Okay, always the same. There's nothing any different to the fact that it's calorie surplus, calorie deficit. And on the flip side, positive side is if you consistently eat fewer calories than you use, you drop body fat and lose weight in a lot of cases. So our balance of energy is what drives our composition. If you look on the right-hand side here, got these three, these are meant to be scales, by the way. You can see the flat one, that would be someone in a maintenance calorie. So that's somebody who is eating and consuming the same amount of calories that they are using on a daily basis. So their body composition will largely stay the same. All right. And if we take calories in on the left versus calories out on the right, okay, the middle one would be where you are, what did I say? Calories in on the left. So if you're taking in more calories than you use them, you're going to be in that surplus and it's going to slide. It's going to slide. And then on the flip side, as I mentioned before, if you are consistently using more calories than your body, if you're consistently doing it the other way around, where you're less calories than your body requires, then you're going to be in a calorie deficit. Okay, that's the simple science, all right, and that's what it comes down to. So always remember that. Okay, when we're trying different things, that's why with my coaching and everyone that I work with, we tend to work in a sustainable way, but we always focus on the principle of it, and we try and do it in a way that's behavior, that's progressive from a behavior point of view, and it's habit building. Some more important information for you. So there's approximately 3,500 calories in 1 pound of body fat. Okay, it's quite a lot, right? So it is very difficult to put on a pound of fat in one sitting or even one weekend. What you've got to remember is, without even doing anything, your body is using energy. You've got what's called a basal metabolic rate, where even at rest, your body requires a ton of energy. It's using a ton of energy. Okay, so really, you've got to be in much more of a calorie surplus than 3,500 calories to put on a pound of body fat. But body fat increase is a slow, consistent build-up over time. Even though that sounds like a lot, there's two things that I'm trying to say here. One is that, again, it goes back to that consistent build-up of body fat over time. Yes, you have been in a consistent surplus of that amount over time. Okay, maybe up and down, but it's over time. It's progressive. All right. The other thing that I'm trying to say is, it's very difficult to put that pound of fat on one sitting. So where you might go out for the weekend, or you might not do as much exercise and you're eating, quite rich food and things like that, and then you step on the scales and your weight's gone up, that doesn't mean that weight is body fat. Okay, it's very difficult for that to happen in one sitting. You'd have to absolutely go some across a weekend. It is possible, of course, absolutely is possible. But then as long as you kind of return to kind of normal habits and stuff, that'll sort itself out. But weight and body fat is not always the same. It's not the same. Okay, that's what I'm trying to say. So just because the scales might say one thing does not mean you've necessarily put on body fat. So that's for people who kind of get hung up on that, thinking that a takeaway or a night out is it's going to put on body fat. It's not necessarily. Okay, it's how you respond to that. It's how you live your life consistently that determines which way it goes. Okay. So calorie deficit works in exactly the same way. Consistency is key. If you want to burn off, to want of a better term, that's the deficit that you've got to be in. Okay, if you want to lose a pound of body fat a week, you need to be in roughly a 500 calorie deficit per day. Okay, and it sounds like a lot, right? And it can be a lot for some people. All right, so sometimes we need to take a longer view. Some people weigh a lot more. They've got a lot more body fat to lose. They're a lot taller, they've got more on them, so they can actually, do drop body fat quite quickly. For other people, if you're a little bit smaller, like me, that process can be difficult, right? And, difficult to adhere to, and you've just got to be patient, all right? But that is, again, the science behind it. The methods that you need to take to support the principle of losing body fat is it needs to be sensible, like I've just mentioned before, for you to be able to adhere to it for one and actually not hate your life. It needs to be nutrient led, which I'll touch on in the next few slides. It needs to be about habit building. Okay, we've built up some bad habits, which is why we're in a certain place, certain condition. So now we need to turn those into good habits. What we can't think is, I'm just going to do this for 6 weeks. I'll get a result. I'll take a nice picture. I'll go on holiday. That'll make me feel better. But I'm not going to change anything about myself. I'm just going to continue living the way I was before and thinking that's going to work. That's not going to work. We have to have long-term thinking. We want to put health as the priority. We want longevity and quality of life. What we're doing now is not giving us that. All right. So it needs to be about habit building. Therefore, this process needs to be enjoyable. You need to be able to eat the food that you like to eat, still do the things that you like to do in terms of socializing and things, or having the odd lazy day and whatever you like to do. But it needs to fit around that. There still needs to be trade-offs. Again, that links back to the nutrient-led food as well, and getting your activity up. So yes, we need to enjoy it, but there's going to need to be some trade-offs. And it needs to be an effective for adherence. So it needs to work for you. You know, you want to be able to see a result, but again, you've got to be able to sustain it. You can't be burning out of energy. You can't be hating life in a bad mood. And you can't be just doing things that causes you to change too much at once, because you just won't be able to stick to it. Not stink. You don't stink. It's all about long-term thinking about a better future. Can you be doing this in 12 months, not just 12 weeks? Can you be doing this and living healthy in 12 years, not just this 12 weeks? Let's not think about these short-term windows, 6 weeks, 8 weeks. Those are kind of like the perfect kind of windows for doing a calorie deficit, but we can't be in a diet forever, right? So it's just not sustainable. We're not giving our body what it needs. So utilize these kind of windows, but have long-term thinking, habit building, positive habits, so that when you get there, you can be someone that can maintain a really good condition because of how you live your life and how it's part of your identity. Just to touch on what I mentioned before, nutrient-led, so macronutrients and why we need them. People don't necessarily always know the kind of key facts around what we eat, right, and why whole food is important. So there's 3 main macronutrients. There's carbohydrates, which are known as carbs to us, protein and fat. So just give you some insight, there's 4 calories per gram of carbohydrate, 4 calories per gram of protein. There's 9 calories per gram of fat, right? Which is probably why fat gets a bad name. I mean, it doesn't help it's called fat, does it? I don't know why the other term fat came from that. But anyway, so this is why people have been kind of scared of fats before. There's 9 calories per gram, right? But we need them. We need a blend of all of these, and this is why. So carbs are the main source of energy. We need carbs. Carbs have got an incredibly bad name due to its association with processed food, but carbs are absolutely essential to help you function. Okay, and you think of things like potatoes, obviously rice, pasta, cereal, grains, pulses. What do I like? Bread, wraps. You know, these all give us energy, right? These all give us usable energy. It also supports brain functions, and obviously whole carbs, like I've just mentioned some there. And in particular, your fruit carbs, right? Bananas, apples, oranges, etc. Berries, they contain vital micronutrients. Micronutrients are all about health, okay? So macronutrients give us function, they're really purposeful. Micronutrients within them help our hair, our teeth, our bones, our bodily functions. Okay, we need whole foods. Protein in the middle, as I always like to say, build your meals around your protein source. Protein supports growth and repair, which is not only good for training, but just for everyday life. It also increases your energy expenditure. Reason being is the thermic expenditure. So even just chewing protein and eating protein uses more calories than eating carbs and fats. All right. So yes, it's good. It's essential to have protein in your diet, but actually eating it contributes towards your calorie deficit. Okay. It also digests slowly, which means that you stay fuller for longer. So satiety is the word I've used there, but it means you stay fuller for longer, which when you're in a calorie deficit, again, it's going to help you from meal to meal. All right. So protein is essential. We want that lean look when we drop body fat and we're training. If you're someone that trains, protein is going to be a massive contributor towards muscle development and repair, which means that when the body fat drops off, we look leaner, we look stronger. It's that toned thing where the word toned came from, is exactly that. All right. Just by the act of eating it, you're burning calories and it digests slowly. It keeps you fuller for longer between meals. So build every meal around your protein source. Okay. And again, animal-led proteins are generally better. But obviously, the vegetarians among you, there are still good protein sources out there. Okay. If you need any support with that, let me know. And as for fat contains essential nutrients. Okay, again, it's another one that digests slowly, not as much as protein, but again, satiety is key for meal to meal, so we want to be able to include it. Helps us with vitamin absorption, immune function, hormone regulation. It's really essential that we get some fats in there. Okay, think of oils, think of avocados, pulses, and things. What else do we get? Cheeses, yogurts, and stuff. But again, remember egg yolk. Or remember that there's 9 calories per gram. All right, so this is where what gets measured gets managed. If you're not someone, before I touch on tracking, if you're someone that's really kind of like tracking's not for me, I've tried tracking, it's brought about some unwanted behaviors. I don't want to be tracking forever. Nobody does. Sometimes you can just go into it thinking about having a balanced plate. If you can approach every meal, particularly like if you think of like your main meals, your lunches, and your dinners or your teas, whatever you call them, having it set up on your plate, something like this will go a long way to help you eating better food and actually contributing to being in a better energy balance, because your portion size are nice and controlled. What people do struggle with is portion sizes, of course. They don't take the time to measure and understand the food. And if you don't want to go, if you're not data led, in the sense of it doesn't agree with you in terms of genuinely doesn't agree with you in it triggers bad behaviors and things. Obviously, coaching can help you with that. However, and this is how you can kind of generally approach things by eyeballing. So if you see here, we've got good section of carbs and protein. So 1 to 3 cupped handfuls of carbs. If you think your rice, pasta, potatoes and things, or your oats. Protein would be kind of like one palm-sized piece. My palm there. Nice chunk of chicken or mince or what else? Is just any fish, obviously, egg whites, stuff like that. Fats. Now, fats is kind of like a thumb-sized piece, which is a bit misleading. Obviously, you get fats in things like chicken and mince. Obviously, the leaner you get, the better. But if you were going to add something in there, it might be something like cheese. It might be your oils. Think of your cooking oils. Some people will not track or understand that cooking oils contains calories because it's fat. All right, so think about maybe what you've cooked your food in would maybe be that thumb-sized fat. Any micronutrients, get plenty in there. If you can load up your plate with micronutrients, what I mean by that is leafy greens, is salads, your veggies, carrots, trying to think of veggies that aren't green, peppers, stuff like that. They go a long way, right, Mike? Because they're so full of goodness. Again, they'll keep you full. They'll digest slowly. They'll keep you fuller for longer. You can load them up. They don't carry many calories to even be worth writing home about, all right? They're different to your roots, like your potatoes and things, but generally your veggies and your salads are going to make a massive difference. Not only is it health orientated, it's amazing for keeping you nice and full. Gives you loads of volume on your meals and makes your meals look superb when there's a bit of colour in there as well. All right. So the case for tracking, though, particularly in the beginning, like I said before, what gets measured gets managed. By applying practical logic isn't obsessive, it's smart. Where people have gone wrong in the past is they've probably not had enough guidance, not had the right people around them to kind of help understand when they've been getting a little bit obsessive and not understanding that this is a learning tool. Okay. Tracking's a fantastic tool to help you understand calories, portion sizes, and macronutrients. Once you get used to things, okay, eyeballing is hard, right? There can be crazy differences between what we perceive is a well-balanced meal for what the reality is, okay? Until we understand calorie consumption, the nutrient consumption of our foods, portion sizes, what things weigh and what calories they are, the more we do and the more we're repetitive with that, the more we can then actually accurately eyeball. Okay, it's much more effective once you've experienced the process of learning and understanding. So my advice to you, if you're using things like MyFitnessPal, which is the perfect, in my opinion, it's free. All you need to do is have your calories given to you by a qualified coach who knows you well. Um, have your protein levels set, and then you just need to go about understanding what's in your food in that first instance, and then kind of move toward the targets that you've been set, which are going to help you succeed. Okay. By doing that, you need to read the labels when, to understand your food. Is this a good protein source? Wow, that's got loads of calories. I didn't expect that. Those kind of things. Scan the barcodes with your MyFitnessPal. Use your weighing scales to get the right portion size and be accurate. And just be honest as well. Track everything. Just because something you think, oh, that's not going to fit today, doesn't mean you haven't eaten it and consumed it. So be honest, okay? Be honest and then make tweaks around it. So there's a few ways to win with your deficit, all right, to make sure you're not hating the process. Okay. Number one, no crash dieting. It can be really tempting to be like, well, the lower I go with my calories, the more body fat I'll lose. Yes, that is scientifically correct. However, it's a horrendous way of living. One, you're probably not getting enough food in to give you the nutrients that you need, the energy that you need to function on a daily basis. And the more that you suffer, the more you're then going to go the other way when the time comes. Then you'll have those feelings of I've caved, I've gone wrong, and then you're just down on yourself, and then you're back at square one. So no crash dieting. We need to be healthy. As I said before, this is a long-term project. We need to think of quality of life, of shaping our identity to be someone that eats well and moves well, and crash dieting does not have a place. Some people think, oh, I'll just do this for a few weeks and then I'll go back to normal. Well, guess what's going to happen is you're just going to go back to where you were before. You're not building any habits or behaviors. Start with what you already know and enjoy. Do not eliminate things that you like unless they are really kind of damaging your health and prospects. If you're going out every single weekend, smashing the booze, smashing the takeaways the next day, same thing every weekend, you're going to have to change that if you want longevity, quality of life, and good health. You're going to have to. Simple as that. However, if you like to go out with your friends, socialize, get the odd takeaway at home, you absolutely can work around that. Also, things like chocolate. I'm trying to think that people get down on. Just the meals that you enjoy, fine. Work around that first. Understand the implications of what you're eating now and how you live your life now. And then, right, where can I make changes? Where can I make tweaks? Sometimes it's just about controlling portions a little bit better. Sometimes you'll surprise yourself and think, actually, I don't eat that bad. I thought I was eating, yeah, my food choices aren't the best, but calories wise, it's not too bad. And then you just bring in the good nutrient dense food. All right. Do not try and change too much at once. I've kind of made this point again later down, number 5. Don't eliminate what you enjoy. Again, if you like a drink at home, you want to socialize, there's ways around it. Okay. Number 3 is be intentional. What I mean by that is really lean into the process. Okay. Think about the identity that you want to share, about being someone. What does that look like? I'm healthy. I've got longevity. I move really well. I'm in good shape. I have good energy. I feel great. I'm looking nice and colourful in the face. I'm getting compliments. I'm just not as tired. I feel mobile. And be intentional. Think about the person that you want to become rather than the process. Thinking about the process. This is dieting. Think about the positive things of what we're doing. Whole food first, as I mentioned before. I don't need to go down that route, but that will just give you so much. It'll help keep you nice and calorie controlled. It'll give you everything that you need to feel all those positive things about feeling energy, feeling nice and full, and just feeling healthy and not bloated and things. And then you can kind of put in other stuff that you enjoy that might not be as healthy, to use that term that I don't want to use, but just build around that. Track weekly over daily. I'm going to touch on that in a minute and why that's important. And have a plan and be organized. If you're just winging it, you're more likely to fall off track. Okay. Where in your week can you have a little bit of organization? And by that, it can just mean doing a shopping list, getting a shopping order, and getting the right food in your pantry, we'll call it. Doesn't mean you need to be like full on meal prepping for 7 days, but where can you take those moments to like cook some meals, do some bit of batch cooking, that might last a couple of days, or just know, right, this is how I know in the next few days, I know how they're going to pan out. I'm going to have to grab something on the go here, but I can cook for this one here. And just even in your mind, just being organized will set you off on the right foot. And be patient. Okay, it's not going to change overnight. We've got out of shape, if I may, over a long period of time. It's not going to change overnight the other way. One good meal does not mean that you're then going to be like super healthy and your job's done. Okay, this is why all the things above this are really important, because we need to be patient. We need to trust the process. Calories are not just, body fat's not just going to fall away once we're in our calorie deficit. We need to be able to sustain it. And again, we can't be in a diet forever. So, we're going to have to be patient. We're going to have to take moments where we're not in a deficit and we're having those diet breaks, if you like. And it's just going to take a little bit longer. All right, but it's worth it. Focus on a weekly target. So let's use Tina in our case. I don't know who Tina is, but she sprang to mind. Say Tina is someone that's on 2,000 calories per day and it is her target, right? That's 14,000 calories per week for those that are good at maths. Tina is someone that trains in the gym, but she also is socializing this week. She's got a big social event coming up. It's a party. There's going to be some drinking involved. Might be a buffet. So if Tina eats on target every day as a minimum, so if she's on Monday to Friday, 2,000 calories, Saturday has 2,000 calories and then goes out, she's going to be, unfortunately, end up in a surplus, right? She's certainly not going to be in the deficit that she wants, so the progress is going to be slower. However, you can maintain the flow of your calorie deficit by looking at your weekly target and making some tweaks, banking some calories for your social events. So let's use the example on the left. The high ones who are the 2,900, let's just say they're a couple of social events that she's got. All right. What you can do on the other days, so in the black ones, the 1850s, I've put in like she's in the gym on those days, which, I mean, probably not after a heavy night out. But, you get the gist of what I'm trying to say is that, there's some days where she needs a bit more energy because she's training, so she can't be eating 1,500 calories if she's trying to hit a gym session. What she might do is those sessions where she's got those days where she's got the most rest, she's not training, she's not going out, but she knows she's got training sessions and social events coming, is if she trims off another 500 calories, that's 500 calories that can go elsewhere that week. All right, so try not to be rigid, hit your target every day, and then you come up to your social event and be like, oh, because it will slow you down. We don't want to miss out on the social events. We don't want to drop our training sessions and things like that. So you can bank calories through the week to add to your social event. Yes, that might not cover the full event, but what it'll do is it'll help keep you on track in terms of the science, in terms of the deficit. Okay. If you're going out Saturday, but you're not going out Friday, can you save a good chunk of calories on that Friday, knowing that on Saturday you're going to use more than prescribed? Okay, so think of your weekly target. This is where it comes again down to being organized and planning. Think of your weekly target and go from there. All right, where can you bank calories? How can you bank calories? And things I will talk about in next week's Coach's Corner, which is going to be around managing social events, where I'll go into this in a little bit more depth and some of the tactics that you can adopt, because this is obviously, an important issue, right? Because we all have things, some a lot more regular than others, but we'll all have things, even if it's going out for a pub meal with our family or whatever, or having a little takeaway or something, where if we're in a calorie deficit and we want to maintain a calorie deficit and get results, we're going to have to manage social occasions a bit better, because what we don't want to do is completely eliminate them. All right. So closing thoughts for today on this topic, and hopefully if people do have questions, you know where to find me on socials and on messaging. But to summarize, avoid overwhelm. All right. Don't try and take on too much at once. Build slowly. If you've been given a calorie target, start to understand your current intake first. If you've been given a protein target and you think, wow, that's high, don't just try and jump straight in there. Let's build into it. Okay. Be patient. Trust the process. Start with what you already do and evolve from there. Again, don't reinvent the wheel. You're not going to be able to stick to that, adhere to that. It's going to be too much for you. Build every meal around your protein source. All right. If you fancy a certain meal, like I fancy some pasta later, it's like, right, start with the protein source. Is it going to be chicken? Is it going to be mince? Okay, how much do I need to get a good chunk of protein? And then build around that. All right. Can you put that into every meal? If you're a 3 meal a dayer, okay, and you don't fancy eating chicken or mince for your brekkie, all right, do I have low fat Greek yogurt that's got high protein? Do I have eggs and egg whites that's got high protein? Do I have whey protein? How can I put it in every meal at the right amount? Be patient, be accurate with tracking and your meals, be honest. And obviously, you've got to be consistent. You've got to build a consistency. A lot of that consistency will come from being able to adhere to it and also being able to enjoy life as well. And just trust the process. It's going to take time. You're going to have to be patient. Otherwise, it won't work and you'll be back at square dot. All right, so that's it for today. I'm going to stop recording in a second. But any questions that you may have off the back of that, like I said before, you know where I am. If you want to access this training again, let me know. And look out for the next one.